All right, my friends, why do I like Vanguard so much? I get that question a lot. Like, hey, what do you think? Is it okay to go to Fidelity or Schwab or T. Rowe Price and all those firms? And yeah, the answer is okay. I just like Vanguard better. And the reason for that is because Vanguard is literally owned by the shareholders. It's as closest thing as a mutual fund, a mutual company as you can get in the investment world. So, to give an example, we have credit unions or mutual companies essentially. I mean, they're owned by the depositors, if that makes sense. They have a board of directors, make sure there's no shenanigans, theoretically, make sure there's no shenanigans going on. But at the end of the day, they report back to their depositors, the credit union members. Same thing with mutual companies, old life insurance companies, New York Life. I'm not sure if New York Life, Northwestern Mutual is a mutual company. USA is kind of a mutual company owned by its members. But I like that, and that's what Vanguard is on the investment side. And I don't know of any other investment firm. I don't even think TIAA-CREF is like that. I'm not sure, but I don't know of any other investment firm that's like that. And so Vanguard, the people who make the decisions are you and I as the investors in the firms. That makes sense. And so because that, I mean, you're always going to have some corporate shyster with shenanigans for sure, but hopefully that guy will be rectified very quickly by the other people on the board of directors or the investors as a whole, because we own the firm. I mean, that's literally what happens, and because of that, I think it's a wonderful investment model for sure. Fidelity, as I've said a million times, is owned by the Johnson family. All right, the Johnson family poo-pooed Vanguard and John Bogle when they first came out. I forgot the guy's name, the first guy, but they disregarded Bogle in 1975, and then Fidelity had Peter Lynch, they had Jeff Vinnick, they had a bunch of guys that came along and stuff, and it's fine. I got no problem with Fidelity, but my preference is, but I'd rather have my money going back to the people like me, the investors in the Vanguard, than going to the Johnson family. I would. I think is it named Abby Johnson or something like that who runs it now, or at least is one of the big guys on campus. I don't. How can I say this without sounding too cynical? I have never been a huge fan of the idea of the transfer of wealth generationally, where someone comes up from a wealthy parent and just takes over the reins, and without having to go through what you and I have had to go through. And what I mean by that, I have actually the same problem with Schwab too, for that some degree, though Schwab's ownership stake is different. It's one of those things. If you look at who are socialists, generally speaking, well, the rich kids. But I mean, the socialists are never, hardly ever, at least Marxist. The working class. I mean, the working class might have some socialistic tendencies, but not to the extent of Antifa and the Marxists that you see in college campuses. These people, generally speaking, just rich kids. I mean, because they don't. Now, who's I listened to the other day? She's like, I don't worry about making money. I just, but and I say, yeah, you don't have to, because you're a rich kid. I mean, that's. But I was listening to Chelsea Clinton one time saying money isn't an issue for us. Saying your money isn't the thing that drives her. Like, well, yeah, no doubt, because it's handed to you, man. You've never had to do anything for it. And I'm not saying she doesn't work, doesn't care about her kids, all that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, if you come from a position where the mortgage is always paid, just by waking up because of your namesake, versus coming from a position where you gotta be worried about paying the mortgage, it's a completely different dynamic. And that's the thing with Schwab, and that's the thing with Fidelity, is that the kids take over and are wealthy inherently from the get-go, and they already have a position placed for them. The lady at Schwab, Carrie something Schwab, and I'm sure she's a wonderful human being. Absolutely, she's probably just great. But again, she didn't have to struggle through the stuff to get to the position she's in. And I'm not saying she didn't work her ass off. I'm not saying that at all. But if she wasn't Carrie Schwab, do you think she'd be the face of Schwab right now? And all the and see, what happens is you give these people positions of power. In this case, they both happen to be women. And next thing you know, they have a different mentality of how to run the shop. And I don't think Carrie Schwab is the CEO of the company, but trust me, if Carrie Schwab comes to your office to do something, you're going to do it. And so what you see is Carrie Schwab doing investments with Elvest. Elvest is run by the lady from Smith Barney. I can't remember her name to save my life. She did not run Smith Barney well, but she's a woman. She's cute, and so she's out there for women's investing strategies. Even though she, it's silly. And see, that's the thing. So what happens? You have Carrie Schwab's of the world. I'm sure the lady from Fidelity say we need more women investors. Man, I completely agree with that. I just don't like the idea that we're going to focus only on women because that's how women feel comfortable. Yeah, I don't like exclusionary tactics. I like everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. All people are welcome, no matter what your race, skin color, sexual identity. I don't care. We're all welcome, and I just find it to be. What happens is the younger generation takes over and they have these big ambitions not to run the company for the benefit of the shareholders or the investors, but to run the company for the benefit of their own virtue signaling. And you see that with Schwab all the time now. They're all over the women's stuff, and I find it offensive, but whatever. I mean, people got to do what they got to do. I literally don't care. Vanguard does the same thing. Don't get me wrong. Vanguard does the same thing, but the thing is that Vanguard went too over the top of that stuff explicitly. I'd imagine their shareholders at some point say, hey, what are we doing here? Now, with that said, as I said before in another video, Vanguard is taking a green initiative to encourage the corporations for which they sit on the board, or at least have a huge amount of shares, to be more green, and that is bothersome for sure. I don't like that at all. If I had any money with Vanguard other than the tiny amount I had, I'd voice my displeasure, but I don't, and so I'm just one cog in the wheel there. But at the end of the day, that's going to happen to any corporation anymore. I mean, we know how these things work. So I like Vanguard simply because the shareholder structure is more. The preference is always to be to the shareholders, which are the investors, you and I. Schwab is a publicly traded company. Shareholders will always come first. Always going to come first, without question. You think not? Just look what happened in the 2000 debacle with Schwab. I'm telling you right now that a guy named Dave Pottruck was a CEO. Share price didn't go as good as what they thought, so they sent him to the curb. And they laid off a bunch of people. Hey, they might need to do that. I don't know. But still, at the end of the day, Schwab appeals to the shareholders first and foremost, and you as a customer second. It doesn't mean they're doing anything bad. It's just that's the nature of how it works. Johnson family, who's going to take reins? Who's going to get the benefits of all things? If it comes to me, Joe Schmo investor, or the Johnson family, they're going to take care of Johnson family first. That's all there is to it. And I just, that's why I like it. T. Rowe Price is traded on the public markets just like Schwab is. They're going to take care of their shareholders first. And look, that's what corporate structure is. I got no qualm with that, but that doesn't mean I would choose those over Vanguard, because Vanguard is owned by the shareholders. Ideally, I choose a credit union over a bank, because the credit unions are owned by the members, not the freaking corporations and the shareholders either. Now, credit unions get a benefit of we're subsidized by their competitors. I don't like that. That'd be like Schwab subsidizing Vanguard. That's not happening. But that the banks, the community banks in particularly, are getting killed because the credit unions are encroaching on their turf, which isn't the way it's supposed to be. But with that said, I still prefer credit unions simply because they're member owned, and they do have some benefits of tax. They don't have to pay tax on their income, so that means that money goes back to us as the members. So that's my reason for Vanguard over these other firms. It's just maybe a little bit political in there. Sally, no, it's not Sally. What is that lady's name from Smith Barney? I can't believe I can't remember her. Short hair like a bob cut. I can't believe I can't remember her name, but whatever. But that's my take on Vanguard. All right, we'll see you.